You did really good on the camera for your first time ever. You did really good.
Thank you.
You couldn't even tell that she's shy. Back at it again here at the Park Car Conversation. Faith Unfolded. We're here at Half Notes, the best event center and space that you need to come to in Scarborough. I'm not just selling that. Outside of this, you guys see in the screen, like, it's a beautiful venue. So if you need to come somewhere, Half Notes is where it's at. And this series, Faith Unfolded, has been so real. Like, I've even seen an increase of people just like talking about it and talking to me in the comment sections. And like, you know, I think talking about God always feels good. You know, and, you know, so far in this series, we've had a lot of people focusing on Christianity and Islam. I'm calling the people out there. I want to get the atheists. I need to talk to some Buddhists. I need to talk to, I want someone who's Jewish on this show. If you're watching this, I need a Jewish person on the show. Cross fingers. And today I got my baby sister. This is Juenelle, which is crazy because I had my older sister, Jade, who has never been a part of this podcast and refused to be a part of this podcast. And then I have my baby sister who is like anti-camera at that. And so it's like, look what God can do. Won't God do it?
We've both been behind the camera in this whole process, though. Because Jade.
Oh, yes. You guys have come.
We both, yeah.
They've come, but they're like, I'm behind the camera. They'll never be in front of the camera. So, which is great. And so today we're going to focus on interfaith households, which is so relatable. And it just by chance happened the other night. She knocked on my door and I was putting my son to sleep. And what were we talking about? How did it come up? Oh, yeah, the funeral.
Yeah, because it was all the funeral and passing stuff. So that's how we kind of started.
Right. And so for context, my little sister, her name is Juenelle. She grew up in a fully Muslim household, but she's a Christian.
Yes.
She's the only Christian.
Yes. And
you grew up that way.
Yes.
Which is like, I don't know how that happened. So she's like, yeah, I'm going to all these like Muslim ceremonial funeral things. And I'm like, how does this feel to you? Because I mean, in my understanding and what we've learned, like a lot of Muslim women, you have to be with
a Muslim man. Yeah.
And in our case, our dad is Christian.
Yes.
Your mom is Muslim.
Yes.
So let's bring us through a little bit, like what's going on here? People want to know, like, how did this end up happening?
Well, I've never officially asked my mom the process of it. I can clearly assume that maybe it has to do with back in the day, of course, with our dad. But from the second I entered this world, I was baptized as a baby, grew up in a church, Sunday school, the whole nine. Going to bed, I was reading like Bible stories. My mom would read that to me. I had my like kids' Bible, that sort of stuff. I would say like the Lord's Prayer, Our Father, you know, that sort of stuff. So it was, even though I was Christian, there was still the Muslim aspect in the household, but it was never maybe pushed per se. It was just, this is kind of what it was.
So your mom, as a Muslim woman, brought you to church, and she stayed in the church with you?
Yeah.
So she attended church?
Yes.
Does she identify as Muslim?
From what I understand, yeah. That was her.
Like,
that was her family.
Like now in present day, like, does she go to the mosque?
Yes. Now, like present day, like she'll go to the mosque, she'll go to masjid, she'll pray, she'll fast. That's definitely, I do feel in some way my grandfather's passing maybe like took a toll on her in some way. Mm-hmm. 'Cause like it's been since his passing that I've slowly seen her kind of integrate back into everything. Mm-hmm. So she's definitely become stronger in her faith, which is cool and great for her. A little, I guess, different for me as to see the changes in my mom, but yeah, she's definitely Muslim lady.
Gotta get your mom on the pod next. And he's like, so what happened during this time of life? Maybe that's what you think. Maybe that was it. Like her faith in Islam wasn't as strong during those times. That's why she was able to raise you as a Christian. Or was that out of like, your dad is Christian, I'm going to do this for your dad?
I personally feel more so maybe has only to do with dad and, you know, back then. Mm-hmm. 'Cause even, you know, my last name, she gave me dad's last name instead of like our family's last name, which is Hussein. So
me and my sister have the same last name.
Yeah.
By the way.
So I feel like maybe it does have to do with that, or it just could have been her choice at that time. Right. So again, I've never personally asked her, but I've also never really thought maybe too difficult in it, because it was always, there was never any push for me to make a decision as to be to one or the other. It was just, you're Christian, this is your beliefs, these are your kind of guiding points, and these are ours. So.
I feel like after this episode, you actually need to go home and talk to your mom about some of these things. I don't know. These are things like I'm curious to know. And side note, for the record, that's actually how me and Juenelle met. Met when I was 14 and she was 13.
Yeah.
When Facebook became a thing.
Yeah.
And then, bada boom, bada bing, we had the same last name. So that's how we were actually able to find each other.
Yeah.
And we've lived like
down the street,
maybe like 5 minutes from each other our entire lives. Just had no idea where she was.
Very true.
So that's pretty cool. And growing up, I always knew, I'm like, yeah, like I have like 2 Muslim siblings, because I know our older brother Jamal, he's also Muslim.
Yeah. I had no idea. I just knew I had one sibling on my mom's side, and then I just thought that was it.
You had no idea there was all of us?
None.
She never told you?
I had no idea.
Oh, from when I was in kindergarten, I literally used to draw pictures of like me and like 8 siblings. So I was like, yeah, I have 9. Like, there's 9 of us.
Growing up, I only knew just one, which is the brother on my mom's side.
Dang, they're hating on us, just keeping us hidden. Okay. So, I mean, the reason why I thought that was so cool, right? She came into my room. I was putting my son to sleep. We're talking to him. I'm just like, okay, like, do you resonate because you grew up in a house with everyone else who is Muslim? And the reason why I think this conversation is so relevant and so important is because on our podcast in this Faith Unfolded series so far, we've had a lot of people who are Christian and Muslim. Actually, only those 2 denominations or 2 different faiths, faith walks, right? Some people who have converted from Christianity to Islam, and then some people who have like converted
other way.
Yeah, right. And then this is like kind of the bridge between both, because you've seen both growing up, and you like somehow manage to respect both. Like you still partake in the traditions of both, and then. Also, there's a lot of people who are going to continue to grow interfaith homes.
Of course.
And I know a lot of people who exist, like even like we're Guyanese. Yeah. A lot of Guyanese people, they're in like half Hindu houses, half Muslim houses. Like there's a lot of homes that exist where there's 2 different faiths. So I think like this is very relatable for someone else watching this.
I mean, I think I've heard obviously the contrast of, the family chooses or makes you pick one or the other, or the kid ends up choosing one or the other. Obviously, in my case, I guess my choice was Christianity, even being around the Islamic religion. But I remember there's a period in time, which is pretty funny because I have actually seen this grandmother's grave recently because of everything. But when she had passed, I remember seeing her grandkids kind of take part in the burial services and stuff. And I remember thinking like, oh, when my grandparents passed, that wouldn't necessarily be the case, because none of us ever really took up learning about the Islamic religion, or even like reading more about the Quran or learning about those things. And I'm like, oh, that made me a little sad. And this was probably, I want to say elementary, like end of elementary, so probably like 2005 to 2007 time.
Right.
And I remember wanting to learn a bit more about it, not in the context of I want to be a Muslim person, but this is still my grandparents' religion. This is still my mom's religion. Like I would like to, I guess, honor it in a way, or to be able to understand it a bit more, so that like whenever the time does come, when God is to take them, I can at least maybe honor them in this capacity.
That makes a lot of sense.
So then there was a lady helping out at the school who was of Muslim faith. And as a kid, I guess I reached out to her to start lessons. So I think I still have some of the stuff at home of like the books of learning the alphabet, like Tha, Qa, like how to read it properly, how to pray, all the surahs, that sort of stuff. And through that, I guess, and this is where it gets a bit, I guess, murky, because I don't necessarily remember as much. But I do remember the same grandmother who I seen her burial for, her husband, he, I guess, was a Meiji, or a well-respected person within the masjid. And
can you define those things? Because I don't know what those things are. The Meiji?
So the way I guess I understand what a Meiji is, and please forgive me to anybody out there
They'll
that
come
is.
for you in the comments if you're not saying it right anyways, but you try your best.
So again, please don't come for me. This is, I guess, my understanding of it all. But from the best way I can explain what a Meiji is they are the pastor of the church, of the masjid, and the masjid is the Muslim church.
I thought it was the imam. What's the imam?
I think that's the same thing.
Okay.
I've always heard it used interchangeably, I guess.
We got a Muslim in here.
I could be wrong, so can you confirm, actually?
Is that confirmed? Meiji and an imam, the same thing? Oh.
Okay, well, that could be probably just like a Guyanese way of saying.
Guyanese way.
Maybe.
But the Guyanese is a little backwards. We're Guyanese, we could say that.
We're not backwards.
It's backwards.
It's just, if we're going to have to go there, people are just uneducated. That's a whole other discussion.
Okay, all right, the Guyanese,
Whole other
they
discussion.
all the Guyanese say Meiji. Everyone else say imam, okay, the Meiji. Okay.
Well, I've heard it as Meiji or Imam, and I guess they've been used interchangeably.
Right.
And I just remember going to their house, and essentially, long story short, was in that process somehow like the call to prayer. So essentially, what would be done when a Muslim child is born to, I guess, confirm their faith or baptize them essentially, was done. So I'm like, oh, and I didn't realize it until I was a bit older. Mm-hmm. And I think I even did ask my mom, like, was this what like so and so did? And then she's like, yeah. And I was like,
They got to whisper something in the baby's ear, right?
yeah. So it's like I don't want to say it necessarily because I think it could be wrong. I know when they pass, what I've at least seen is La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. They'll say that. And so I essentially had asked my mom, confirmed that was the case. And I was like, okay. So I'm like, if I am to be Christian and if this is still my path, which even still at that point, I felt that way and I knew that. I was like, okay, well, I have to be rebaptized. So then...
And I was at your baptism. You did get rebaptized. She really did get rebaptized. And I asked you that the other night. I'm like, what made you get rebaptized? Like, is that... Did I ask you that? No, I didn't ask you that.
No, but essentially...
Girl, my mind is not working.
Damn,
Do
are
you
okay?
remember what we were talking about? Because I don't.
Are you okay? Are you awake?
I'm not. See, podcasting be like that sometimes. You
Yeah.
know, life be lifing. I got too much things, you know,
Z.
my kid,
Bye.
you know what I mean? A magic mind.
Okay.
A magic mind, girl. You want to try one?
What is it?
It's a magic mind. It is a energy booster.
Okay.
From when you see it green, it's Asian looking. We like matcha. There's matcha in it. There's ginger. It's good for the Jamaicans. Enough of the nutrients. You know, when you see B12 and those things, all the things that you don't know, vitamin D3.
I don't have my glasses on, so I cannot see that.
It's a organic like energy booster.
Okay.
Boost energy and focus. It crushes the procrastination. I need this shit. Anyways, you need this shit. And listen, what does it say here? Oh,
I can make out partially.
do more.
Alleviate mental clarity.
Do more, stress less.
Wow.
You need to stress less. Y'all don't even know behind the camera, this girl been stressing. So you need me to
I
open
just
it
lost a loved one. I think I have a right to
Yes,
stress a bit.
You've lost quite a bit. But I hate to do that to you. But
Thanks.
listen, if you have one of these, you know what I'm saying? It's like earthy. It's good. You know, morning or nighttime. People who procrastinate like me can't focus.
Sure.
But after this, we're gonna crush the podcast. After this,
Okay. How's it taste?
yeah, it's earthy. I like it. Yeah, it's beautiful. Like it has matcha in it. I love that.
Please know I definitely would love to try this, but I also just chugged quite a bit of water and coffee.
So you don't want to go to sleep today, or you want to go to sleep? That's your.
I'd rather just not want to pee on your podcast.
Pee on the podcast.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
I apologize.
See, the thing is, it's not you're drinking like this whole big drink. You're drinking like a little small thing. It's only 2 ounces, so you're not gonna pee that much.
Okay,
That's
well,
great
you're gonna have to
benefit.
help me open this because
I'll just cheers you. Can't interrupt me. I'm having my mastermind.
Okay.
My magic mind.
All right.
Magic mind for the mastermind. You see that?
Wow.
After this, we're flowing through life.
You're getting the ad-libs going. Mm-hmm. There you go. How's it
See?
taste? Sweet.
Yeah, it's great.
There we go.
And just one of these. Sometimes I have 2. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you.
2 of them.
Yeah, because I love the flavor.
Okay.
Sometimes you just have to do big things. But yeah, like back to baptism. That's what we were talking about, right?
Yeah.
See? Magic mind. For the magic mind. The mastermind.
Are you awake?
Yeah.
You got the powers of the matcha and
Instant.
the ginger?
Yeah.
There you go.
Magic mind, man. I'll just keep it right there. Baptism.
Yes.
No, actually, like as the conversation goes, you'll realize we're just gonna be more sharp. Watch, see if I forget something again. I won't. Okay, so back to the
I'll hold you
baptism.
to it.
You got rebaptized.
Yes.
You felt it's because you,
So essentially because I knew the call to prayer had happened, I was like, but
it wasn't to you.
it was to me. Yeah.
Or was a baby?
Not as a baby. When I was probably in either going into high school.
Why did they do that?
I think with the process of learning the religion, my mom maybe kind of took it as like, I maybe want to be Muslim. But as a kid,
you don't have to be like, someone doesn't have to ask your permission to do that. Like, you're older now, you're not like a baby. Like, how will I know if someone whispers that in my ear? And does that mean that I'm
technically, as now as an adult, you would definitely clearly know. But again,
it's Arabic. I don't necessarily understand it, Rick.
Back in the day, that period of my life was very, not murky, but not memorable. But it just, things were muddy back then.
I get you.
So,
not now though. You have a magic mind.
Yes, we remember.
I get you.
So back that I just remember again, like I had gone to the house, this had happened, and then I had asked my mom a while later, like, was this, what was the case? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, I would probably have to get, rebaptized at that point if that's the case. And, this is still my direction. And through meeting you guys and then going, that was like our thing, me and Dad, like Sunday mornings, going to church and stuff. That just started the process to get rebaptized and read my Bible again. Yeah.
I had a part to play in that. That is so awesome. You never told me that, eh? You never told me that. And then one day I just stopped going to church, actually. Remember?
I think we both did.
Remember when that man came to us after we had communion? The man, I spoke about this in the podcast. The man came to us after communion. He said, I can tell when you take the communion, you don't have God in your heart. From that day, remember, I stopped going to church. I never went to church again. You know who I'm talking about. You know exactly. And he's Guyanese. He's very backwards. But I mean, like, that's, a true testament to your faith. But like, I'm always so like confused. Like, how did you
grow up in it all?
Yeah, like, how did you still want to be so Christian if everyone around you is Muslim? I'm around Muslim people just like recently too, and I'm more inclined to like learn about Islam and stuff just because they're around. Like, you're still just like, even as a kid. I
think for me, like, what you'll come to find is that the biggest theme was that nothing was ever pushed. It just unapologetically just was. My mom or my grandparents, they never pushed that on me. Like my grandfather and my grandmother, I would see them pray their daily prayers. I would watch my grandfather go to church. When you go to grandparents, you say Assalamu alaikum. When you come home, say Assalamu alaikum, that sort of stuff. You celebrate Eid after the month of fasting of Ramadan.
But you never fasted?
No. I never fasted. I go to eat dinner and enjoy.
That's a plus.
But I would never fast myself.
Yeah.
I remember sometimes as I got older, like my mom would mention, well, you could probably give up something, just like how Christians give up things for Lent and that sort of stuff. I don't think I ever did. We should do it next season. We'll do it together. Accountability, people. Fair. That could we do on the Faith podcast. Definitely take a look into that. And then remember the other night I asked you, I'm like, okay, like the biggest thing when it boils down to Christianity and Islam, or I guess the understanding of who Jesus versus Isa is, right? But when it boils down to your salvation, I remember like this was so dark when we were in a room. I was sitting beside my son, and I'm like, do you ever think about like how people are going to get to heaven? Like your heaven looks different than your family's heaven, and your salvation looks different than theirs. For me, the one thing I know, regardless of whatever the path may be, whether it's through, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, or whether it's believing in Jesus Christ and believing that is Lord, is with both religions, you come from dust and you go back to dust. You come from nothing and you go back to nothing. So I have, because of that, never thought about it too heavy, even though I know that obviously my grandfather, he's buried in different rites and stuff of that nature. My mom will be the same. My grandmother, family members, that will all be the case. I may be buried a little differently or under different rites, but I've never thought about it too tough. I guess also to even with thinking about prayers. Sometimes people may want to get very serious and talk about how, well, they're making dua for you and their duas won't cover you because they're Muslim or you're Christian or this, that, and that. Well, at the end of the day, if I'm Muslim and I'm praying for you, that's still positivity and love and protection and goodness going out there up into the world for you. And I wouldn't believe that anybody would be against that. Mm-hmm. So why think about it too hard? Why go into muddy details per se? It's just everyone is going to have to die. That is the one guaranteed in this life. Everyone will pass one day. And it's just to respect your loved ones as best as you can in their wishes for their passing. And ideally, when you pass, hopefully that still can be the same. And I know that one way or another, I'm still covered by their prayers or their du'as. I'm still going to hopefully see them one day when I pass. So that's really about it.
And I mean, remember I said to you, I'm like, I would like to think the same. Because I mean, I love people who are of a different faith than me. But when I said it, when it comes down to like the biblical books or like the Quran or like the Bible, like, I mean, it's very clear. And that's why people who are very
seriously in it,
serious into the faith, because like that's what the word is, not like of our own understanding. Like if you read the actual text, like it says, if you don't believe in this way, salvation is not yours. So technically, by right, if you know you're of Christian faith and if they're of Islamic faith, like technically someone's salvation based on the other person's belief, like you do actually not go to the same place. And I remember I said that, like it's something that sits in my mind, because you were like, when you said the other night, you were like, I know I'll see them eventually. I mean, I hope. I will hope that the God that we serve, like, is like understanding in that way. Like, if people just did their best job, you know what I mean? Like, you know, you're a Christian and you did your best job being a Christian, then okay. And if you were a Muslim, you did the best job being a Muslim. You know what I mean? Like, if we were just happened to be born in the Middle East, we'd probably be Muslim, like, by rights. Just didn't know, right? And a lot of
more very strict too.
I feel like a lot of Christians, I've heard it though, like it's like there's like this grace of ignorance. If you didn't know who Jesus was and you weren't introduced to Jesus, then there's like this grace. But if you heard who Jesus was and you don't accept that, and you don't accept the word as it is, then there's consequences to that, right? So I mean, tricky. But I guess you don't process it that way. And your family doesn't talk to you about it? Like, do they ever influence you? Like, listen, you need to be...
No, and I think that's also the reason why I have the understanding, or I treat it the way I do, or I think about it the way I do, because, again, nothing has ever really been pushed on me. And in both directions, whether like me to them or to mom, like, you have to be Christian because I am, or, you know, I have to be Muslim because they are. It's just always been... I guess a respectable dance of, this is their religion, this is how they operate, this is what they do. These are the things that they believe in and capacities and what have you.
And you've never questioned those things?
No.
You never thought about, like, why do you guys do this and like this is done?
I mean, there's probably more culturally things. So like for example, they refer to like grandparents as Aji and Ajo or Nanny and Nana. Those things I question, like, where did this come from, or why was that the case? But where it comes to the religion aspect, it's always just been a beautiful dance of, well, you are this. They've never pushed anything or forced anything. They've approached it beautifully where, you know, for example, when I would sleep over at my grandparents, instead of my mom reading me Bible stories or what have you, my grandmother would read me like Muslim stories and things of that nature. And she would have like Muslim books that she would read to me or tell me about. So it was always this beautiful duo of, well, this is this religion, these are these things.
I think that's beautiful.
We operate it that way. And you kind of operate this way. I'll still like hear, as I got older, I would still hear from my grandmother if I was wearing like a tank top or a t-shirt in the house or something that showed a little bit more skin. Oh, a log on your skin. If you're showing that much. Or even, for example, like if I get up, she'd be like, pull down your shirt. Sometimes I won't even get the chance to fix my stuff. I'll just feel like her little hand trying to pull down my shirt. So little things like that, but there's never...
I feel like people like forget that also in Christianity, modesty is also a thing.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like people only associate, when you think
with
about
Islamic religion,
you know, in society, like covered up, you think of Islam, but like that's actually a practice in Christianity also. Yeah. Like, you're supposed to even have your head covered as a woman going into a church. That's why all the, you know, the old black ladies, they always wear hats. Like, it's written that way. You know what I mean? But people don't associate it in the same manner.
No, it's more, you are correct. It is more associated with the Islamic religion. But my grandmother, she's never, even down to marriage, I know maybe she would ideally love if that could be ideally so for me to end up with a Muslim person, but it's never... You have to marry.
Were they mad that your mom wasn't with a Muslim man? Because isn't that a thing? That's what I'm saying. Like Muslim women are supposed to be with Muslim men. At least the ones that I know. They're like, I have to be with a Muslim man.
Yeah.
Muslim men are allowed to be with Christian or Jewish women.
Well, not to go too crazy into that, because obviously people's lives and things. I know it was a difficult time because I wasn't around. My mom and my brother were. I know that was a difficult time for my mom, and because it was not only just a Christian man, but more so from like a black to brown perspective. So I know that was a bit of a difficult time for her and what have you, but
she was like the black sheep. She was like a rebellious.
A little bit, yeah.
I like that. Sometimes you just go against the grain and things work out that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was more the difficulty. I don't think there was ever...
Your brother's Muslim too?
Yeah. He was, I believe he had the call to prayer, and he definitely operates way more respectably in Muslim than I do in the household. So for example, every Thursday or Friday, you normally are supposed to, at least from what I understand and what I've heard, is you're supposed to have the lights on, because that's when the angels come and they bless your home and things of that nature. But for me, I do find lights very harsh. And I've also...
Oh my gosh, that's so dark now.
No,
she
not
said
that...
the lights are dark, turn it off.
No, it's not that the lights are dark. It's just for my eyes, I don't know, I guess as I've gotten older, my eyes do kind of struggle with like very harsh and heavy light. So to have all the lights on in the house, even sometimes that are not needed, it's just like, it's too much. But my brother will be the one to be like, no, it's Thursday or Friday, like keep the lights on. Or if I take it off, he'll go and put it back on. So he's definitely more Muslim than I, for sure.
Would you be open to like be with someone who is Muslim in a partnership, or you as a Christian?
For a very brief stint, way back when I did date for like a very short while, a few months. I did date someone that is Muslim.
I didn't know who he was. I'm just saying, I didn't know. I never met him.
This was like back,
a long time ago.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Back in the day, it's definitely probably now been about 10 years, if not a little bit longer, what have you. So I don't think I have anything against dating someone that was Muslim or what have you. I just don't see that for myself, if that makes sense. So
that's interesting. I mean, yeah, like I grew up in a very Christian home.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, like I guess, shoot, you know,
you end up where you end up.
You end up where you end up, and I mean, you know, I guess that's the beauty in this.
Yeah.
Someone out there is trying to navigate, because if you know, I might have Googled it, YouTubed it one time, like you know how to interfaith relationships work and stuff like that. Someone out there's watching, like they don't know how to navigate, like how your household's supposed to look like. I guess that's like the beauty in it, if you have that experience where there's like this balance where you can be exposed to both and like respect both. I think part of that does come with people not being as like strict in the principles.
Very much so. So if you are going to go about it very by the book and very strict, then yes, that's where it's going to become difficult for you. But if an interfaith household is maybe something that you're pursuing or maybe thinking about, I feel the only way that it can maybe be handled where it doesn't get difficult for you, because I don't even think you would want to add that to yourself in this day and time, is just to respect each other's half and try not to go too deep in it.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard it just from the Christian aspect. They've said, listen, it's hard enough to follow God as it is. Yeah. Why add another layer onto things? You know what I mean? Trying to be in like an interfaith relationship of that sense. So, I mean, I understand where people are coming from, but like I do know a lot of people who are like have grown up in interfaith homes. Yeah. And it doesn't mean that it can't happen.
No, it definitely exists.
If you learn just to respect people's religions and stuff like that. So it was a beautiful blend. Thank you for like, sharing light. If someone who literally is both. We've literally spoken to people who are Christian and Muslim, but maybe not at the same time. Fair. I always look at you're like, I always tell people like, my little sister's, she's Muslim. Because you grew up in a Muslim house.
I'm Christian, but culturally, I'm, I guess, also Muslim, or I'm understand it to be, because when there's weddings or when there's funerals, I'll still be in a masjid. You
know how to go to a mosque. Yeah. You know what to do.
For the most part, yes. I wouldn't go like too heavy into like going and pray if it's Fajr or what have you, or Maghrib time, sorry. But like if I'm in a mosque, for example, for the funeral service the other day, when that's happening, my hands are up, my head's covered.
You know
I've heard it enough to follow along.
Yeah. Like if I was to walk into a mosque, I would have absolutely no idea what to do from start to finish. Like I'd have to go with someone who knows. Like bring me the one day.
Okay.
You gotta wash up your hand and them things and stuff like
That's
that.
if you're actually praying. Yeah. So if you're
Can
going,
you set to go there and not pray?
I believe so. I mean, I would
be the one person everyone is like, you know, saying the prayer and I'm just standing up there by myself.
You don't even sit down when people are, so essentially what happens if it's a prayer time and you're at a masjid and you're not praying, there is the prayer section, and then there's just kind of a general kind of hall area, and that's where you just normally sit quietly.
Might as well sit at Starbucks at that point. You gotta be a part of the thing. Anyways, we'll go to, you know, a mosque one day. Bring me.
Oh, jeez.
If you were to leave someone with like I don't know who needs to hear this, you know, that's my line. And your mind is sharp now. You've had magic mind. Don't you realize the difference though?
I think
my eyes are just
a little more attentive,
like open. Yeah,
awake.
I really feel that.
Yeah.
Oh, shout to Magic Mind. Okay, that's your camera over there.
Okay.
Give them I don't know who needs to hear this.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but God is always in control, no matter what storm you are going through. Even if you, believe me, even if you don't understand it, He is still there with you. And just remember to try your best to put out there what is of God, what is of love, what is of positivity, and what is of your desires. So, yeah.
You did really good on the camera for your first time ever. You did really good.
Thank you.
You couldn't even tell that she's shy.
Terrified.
Yeah, you did really great. Here are the park car conversation. Don't leave me hanging, sis. Don't leave me hanging. Faith Unfolded. You got another one.